The resort I will be ranking and reviewing today used to be the premier ski resort in the Mid-Atlantic region. However, back in 2021, the infamous Vail Resorts Inc. acquired this property. This is a resort I've gone to multiple times over the past 20 years of riding. However, this will be the first time I'm going back since Vail has acquired this ski resort. Will it still be one of the premier ski resorts in the Mid-Atlantic region, or has every skier's arch nemesis, Vail Resorts, ruined yet another once amazing local spot? How's it going? My name is Chris and I have been snowboarding for over 20 years. I have competed in multiple snowboarding competitions and I used to be a snowboard instructor. And my goal this winter is to ride at, rank, and review as many resorts as possible. I will be ranking every resort from an F to an S tier, both regionally, which this one will fall into the Mid-Atlantic region, and worldwide. Let's jump into my ranking and review of Seven Springs Ski Resort in Pennsylvania. So right out of the gates, let's talk about this mountain's stats. Seven Springs has an elevation of 2,994 feet, a vertical drop of 750 feet, 40 runs, 285 skiable acres, and 10 chairlifts. So now let's jump into some key features about this resort and my experience riding there. And then after that, we will jump into my regional and worldwide ranking of Seven Springs. So just kind of some history on this resort and my experience there. This is a resort I've been to a handful of times over the years. And the last time I went to this resort was with a few of my buddies back in college. We were doing like kind of a little East Coast road trip, hitting a couple different spots. And this was one of the resorts that we ended up riding at. So we did a nice day session, then all the way into the night. I think we literally closed down the resort. I remember being one of my favorite spots we went to when we were doing this kind of like Mid-Atlantic road trip on, I think it was like one of our spring breaks. So instead of partying in Cancun, we were just the three of us just driving around the Mid-Atlantic, hitting different random resorts. So it was an absolute blast. Only good memories from riding at this place, and definitely one of the bigger spots in the Mid-Atlantic region. I would say this and Snowshoe would be kind of the two resorts in the Mid-Atlantic region, rivaling for the biggest and, in my opinion, the best. However, back in 2021, Vail acquired this property and now it is part of the Epic Pass. So this is kind of a good and bad thing. It's good because if you get the Epic Pass, this is one, if you live in the Mid-Atlantic region, that you would be able to hit up as often as you'd like. However, on the flip side, the bad part about it being on the Epic Pass is that when these resorts get acquired by either Icon, Epic, or honestly Indy as well, it just makes it so that the resorts become a little bit more crowded just because more people have access to these mountains and the ability to go ride at them. I would say Indy's probably the least crowded of the resorts that I've ridden at, but definitely with those resorts that are on Icon and Epic, they definitely get a little more crowded than other resorts that you might go to that are just completely independently ran. But for me, I like the ability to be able to just get one pass and go and ride there as many times as I like. So for me, I find it being on the Epic Pass actually a big positive. Now, when I was there were multiple people that I talked to while I was on the lift, just kind of talking to the local riders that have been there and ride this resort much more frequently than I do. And they did express some frustration or concerns about Vail taking over, because Vail is infamous for kind of not caring about terrain parks. And that kind of leads me into my first kind of piece about this resort, is that they are kind of known, at least back in the day, for having probably the dopest terrain park that you can go to in the Mid-Atlantic region by a very, very, very wide margin. They even have a super pipe at this resort. And this is one that I rode at back in the day when I came here with my buddies in college. I remember riding the super pipe. There is a 0% chance I made it out of the lip doing any sort of tricks, because that thing is huge. When I rode it, it gives you a newfound appreciation for what those like X Games level sponsored Olympic riders do flying 20 feet out of a super pipe is absolutely insane. It is just a sheet of ice that they are ripping across. So, I mean, I was doing very little baby airs, like not even going above the lip, just kind of going back and forth on it. And even that was terrifying. But in addition to having a super pipe, they have all sorts of other features. When I was there, since it was, you know, kind of late December, pretty early in the season for us on the East Coast, they had 2 terrain parks open. So I rolled through them and checked them out. And they had a tow rope for the terrain park that was more kind of like their box rail session, which was really cool. Bunch of steezy riders there, ripping it through there and just jumping back on the tow rope and doing it again. When I was there, I was on a mission to ride every single run and check them all out. I just went through that terrain park section once. Also, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm some sort of really good terrain park rider, but it was very sick. I will definitely be going back there this season to go and actually try and hone in on my rail and box skills. Normally when I'm riding, I'm doing a lot of like tree moguls, bombing hills, because most of my riding buddies are skiers, and that's kind of how a lot of them like to ride. So this season, I'm definitely gonna try and focus on learning a little bit more terrain park skills. So this will definitely be a resort I go back to hone in on those skills. In addition to having an amazing terrain park, I will say once again, for being early in the season in December, I was impressed. They were blowing snow and they had a little bit of everything. They had everything from a bunny slope to greens, blues, blacks, and even had some double blacks that weren't open yet, because unfortunately when I was there, an entire, like another whole side of the mountain wasn't even open yet, which is pretty impressive because I was there for like 3.5 hours trying to hit every single run. So the fact that I only was riding on about, I would say, 2/3 of the entire resort, given how early in the season I went, is pretty sick for the Mid-Atlantic region. Also, other than the main lift right outside of the lodge, that had a pretty massive line at it. But other than that, everything else for me going there on a weekend, everything was ski right onto the lift. You didn't have to wait in any sort of lift line other than that main lift at the very base of the mountain. So once again, I think for just the ability to be able to hop on the lifts, take a bunch of runs, even with the mountain not being fully open because it was so early in the season when I went, I was super impressed with the speed of getting on and off lifts, the quality of different terrain. The terrain park that was open was really good. Next, talking about lodging, I would say this resort has pretty solid lodging options. Is it affordable? Not necessarily. Definitely wouldn't be one of the cheapest spots you could go and rent a cabin or a condo at, but they do have a lot of different housing options. It primarily seems to be mainly like townhouse, condo lodging options, but nonetheless they have them, so if you wanted to do that. Also, it is just about an hour away from Pittsburgh, which I guess isn't that close, but if you had friends in Pittsburgh or if you wanted to stay in the city and then do little commutes over to the mountain, you would definitely have that option, and that would make housing much more affordable just because there's a lot more housing options in Pittsburgh. So lodging, I wouldn't say is amazing, but at least they have a wide variety of it for you to choose from. It's just not going to be the most affordable housing of any resort that you could pick. So moving on to other amenities about the resort, mainly around like food and drink options, I would say that this is one of the highlights of Seven Springs that I didn't even know until I got there and started talking to local riders. Seven Springs actually has a bar on it called the Foggy Goggle. It also has a restaurant attached to it, like inside that bar. But the Foggy Goggle is actually the #1 rated ski bar on the entire East Coast. And I can say, after kind of walking through it and talking to people there, I can definitely see why. It is huge. Apparently it's open year round, so it's not just one of these that's open during the winter season. It's so popular that it's actually open year round, and it is pretty freaking sick. It has like a little dance floor with a stage, multiple bars that you can go bounce between. It even has like an axe throwing section, and then the restaurant part of it is super nice with another bar, multiple pool tables, and other kind of like arcade games for kids. So it had, I wouldn't even say a little bit of everything. It had a lot of bit of everything, and everybody there seemed to love it. I would say that the bar might have been more crowded than the actual slopes. People were really getting after it in the bar, and I didn't stay there like late into the day to see what like the nightlife party scene was, but from everyone I was talking to, they said that it really starts to get going after the chairlifts close for night riding around like 9:30, 10 o'clock is when the bar really starts to get rowdy. So if you're going somewhere looking to more so have fun at the ski bar rather than on the slopes, this this spot, I would say Seven Springs would be right up there with literally any other resort in the country. Definitely any other resort on the East Coast. Then the other thing that is nice is that if you're just trying to go get food in their kind of cafeteria section, it is an Epic resort, which means that you would get 20% off any of that food, which is nice. So the prices actually aren't horrendous. They're pretty affordable if you have an Epic Pass. If you don't have an Epic Pass, obviously you'll be paying full price, which is a little bit steep. But I would say for like amenity sakes, having the #1 rated ski bar on the East Coast right there is pretty freaking cool. So now let's jump into my rankings of Seven Springs. So once again, I do all of these rankings both regionally and worldwide. So where would I place Seven Springs for the Mid-Atlantic region? I would place Seven Springs in the S tier. And I would say it's pretty easily one of, if not the top resorts you could hit in the Mid-Atlantic region. Just given the run varieties, especially if you're looking for terrain park riding, it has that for sure, along with a bunch of other fun, longer runs that you can hit. And it has the #1 rated ski bar on the East Coast. So if you're not that much into riding, or you've had a long day and you just want to go grab a drink, you got literally the best option you could hope for on the entire East Coast. So easily for the Mid-Atlantic region, I would place Seven Springs in the S tier category. Now let's move on to worldwide. Obviously, ranking a Mid-Atlantic resort versus other resorts in Canada, Colorado, Utah, it's not necessarily a fair fight. However, I will place Seven Springs worldwide in the B category. Obviously, it depends on what you're looking for in a resort, but I think for terrain park riding, it is one of the better resorts I've ever been to. Obviously, there's some that I've hit up in Vermont and Colorado and Utah that have very like world class. Like this is where like Olympians go to train. So like obviously that's not what Seven Springs is gonna be. However, compared to like any other resort, I think their terrain park variety is incredible. I would also say you have the #1 ski bar on the East Coast. It's a pretty sick spot. And so I think you're really gonna have a little bit of everything here, and being right by a major city is pretty cool. So if you wanted to get away from the slopes and just go hang out in the city and do like a night out in the town, you could definitely do that, because I know that when I go to Colorado, driving on I-70 now, it takes forever to get to and from the slopes. So having very light traffic to get to and from Pittsburgh is pretty cool. So I feel pretty comfortable placing Seven Springs in the worldwide B tier. So I hope you enjoyed my ranking and review of Seven Springs Ski Resort in Pennsylvania. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with my ratings, and let me know which resort I should check out next. And if you like my hoodie, I actually got multiple compliments on this hoodie when I was riding at Seven Springs. So it says work from home day, and it's a guy on a snowboard drinking his coffee, working on his laptop while he's on the chairlift. So if you like my hoodie, I'm giving away one piece of merch for every video that I drop on YouTube. So all you have to do is leave a comment on this video about anything and subscribe to the channel. Just screenshot proof that you did it, slide into my DMs on Instagram and let me know that you're looking for some free gear, and I'll pick one lucky subscriber every video to send some free merch to. And with that, peace out, y'all. And if you like this video, you might like these videos as well.